fortunate for us that this fiery furred friend furiously flounces his feast. This fuzzy fauna frolics forever in flowery fields, foliage of forests, and foggy fjords, featuring fundamental features, flaunting flawless fur, a fabulous and fair fiery facade, feral or frocked. For from fables of our forebears and forefathers, fabricate a fabulous family fable for future friends. Famous familiar facsimiles frequented for furries. Furry fans foresee facts on facilitating fox fornication. Forsake that fodder for a Freudian farce forthwith. The firmament of fame fizzles for a formidable fuss. Forsooth, fasten your facetious flabbergasting and facilitate a more fantastical fiasco, featuring a frenetic frenzy for fiendish fantasy fae. Unfurling, foreshadowing, fluent in frisky flailing. Don't fret on this frivolous filibuster. Fantastic, fluffy, feisty, ferocious furry foxes are culturally effed. What are foxes and what are they good for? On Culturally Effed. Foxes are such a popular persona that their ubiquity has become a bit of an inside joke in the fandom. Foxy fluffs are everything, but why are they popular? To find out, we must look to what purposes a persona serves. First, a persona is social. You're signaling what to expect from you. In the case of foxes, being playful, cute, non-threatening, and perhaps a bit mischievous. Second, a persona is aspirational. You pick an animal you identify with and want to embody the positives of, and foxes are cited as clever and adaptable by both folklore and biologists. Not a bad thing to aspire to. Foxes are found all over the world and have likewise made a tremendous impact on human culture. Foxes are known for their yellow-red fur, which can vary between the over 20 different species. They aren't always red, they can be black, gray, brown, or white. They come from the Canidae family, so they're more closely related to wolves, jackals, and domestic dogs. In the wild, they can live for up to around 3 years, but can live up to 10 years if kept healthy and in captivity. Most foxes are general carnivores, dining on the smaller proteins of the animal world. Unless you're a crab-eating fox. Their most famous hunting strategy is their mighty pounce. Foxes are vocal animals and have a range of noises for socializing, feeding, and warning fellow foxes of nearby predators, and warding off those predators with the growls of their own. While very vocal, they do not say some of the things they are accused of. Foxes have been domesticated in some parts of the world and have shown researchers the effects living with humans has on large mammals. Things like curly tails, floppy ears, and pigment changes. Outside the home, the urban fox is finding it perfectly acceptable to scavenge out of the trash bin. Though a recent report said nearly 60% of the urban foxes in the UK are fed by humans. Some species of fox are in danger of extinction, like the Californian island fox, which since 1993 has had a 95% of its population decline due to loss of habitat and invasive species. Most of these foxes are bred in captivity. In media, you may have seen fox-inspired creatures with many tails. This actually comes from ancient myths of Japan, China, and Korea. As far back as the 4th century before Common Era, 9-tailed foxes were being written into Chinese myths. These trickster stories are like a lot of other trickster myths from around the world, where the trickster isn't necessarily good or bad. In the 2nd century, writer Guo Pu described the 9-tailed fox as an auspicious omen in times of peace. Guo Pu also wrote, "When a fox is 50 years old, it can transform itself into a woman. When 100 years old, it becomes a beautiful female, or a spirit medium, or an adult male. Such beings are able to know things at more than 1,000 miles distance. They can poison men by sorcery or possess and bewilder them, so that they lose their memory and knowledge. When a fox is 1,000 years old, it ascends to heaven and becomes a celestial fox." Celestial Fox is also the name of my new hit single. Throughout Asia, from Japan all the way to India, there are stories of foxes transforming into humans and living amongst us, often being strikingly beautiful. Their fox-human offspring often exhibiting supernatural powers. Shut the fox up. The most extensive and diverse stories of the nine-tailed fox are the Kitsune spirits of Japan. The Zekno are the good foxes, benevolent and celestial beings. And on the flip side, there are the Yako, or the Nogitsune, who are the mischievous and malicious kind of fox. If a fox spirit is posing as a human, you can sometimes find out if you discover their hatred of dogs. Not only can they transform, but some stories have Kitsune flying, turning invisible, using their mouths or tails to create fire and lightning, manipulating dreams, possessing humans, and straight up bending space-time. Don't worry, because you can always appease these tricky fox spirits by offering udon and soba. As long as humans treat Kitsune with respect and reverence, they should leave you alone. But just to be safe, occasionally check to see if your partner has sprouted whiskers or tails, especially if they have a taste for soba. Europe has its own fox trickster, inspired by Aesop's fables, but taking on a mythos of his own. Renard the fox was formalized in medieval manuscripts as children's parables on social behavior, and giving everyone a good laugh when he tricks the wolf. These stories from the 11th century date from Germany, Holland, France, and England. It was used as satire to make fun of the royals, the aristocracy, and the clergy. That's a big influencer to all of these medieval manuscripts of animal people, especially as priests and rich people. The Renard cycle, as it's called, continued through the centuries, seeing more iterations, changes, and new stories being added. Chaucer uses Renard as inspiration in The Canterbury Tales. Walt Disney was set to adapt Le Roman de Renard as an animated film, but found the trickster a bad choice of role model for children. They changed the plot and the characters, but scrapped that script as well, and instead made 1963's Sword in the Stone instead. 10 years later, they would reuse their animal character studies in 1973's Robin Hood, which is almost a shame because there's some fantastic artwork from the original project. Foxes have also influenced our language. Have you ever heard of someone described as a silver fox or a foxy lady? Maybe you're crazy as a fox, or someone told you that you're letting the fox guard the henhouse. To describe a person as foxy is usually to imply that they have some sex appeal. Shenanigan is another word influenced by vulpines. It's derived from the Irish expression Seanachhuim, that word, meaning I play the fox. Amazingly, it's the stories of the fox trickster that gave the French their word for fox. From the Germanic word Regenhard, a deithmatic name in two parts, Regen meaning counsel and hard meaning strong, describing someone as resourceful, wise, or clever. The popularity of the Renard stories made French speakers change the word from the original Latin-based groupil to the modern French word for foxes, renard. In Japan, the word kitsune also has many possible origins, and many scholars throughout the centuries can't agree on its true etymology. Here is a ridiculous chart that I made. It's either descriptive, like yellow cat, onomatopoeia for their bark, and one scholar believes it's rooted in a myth where a fox transforms into a woman and enters a bedroom. My personal favorite is Stench Dog. The Cunning Little Vixen, a Czech opera by Leo Janáček, premiered in 1924 following the life cycle of a fox. From a cub to parenthood and death, its titular character embodies many of the qualities associated with foxes in folklore: cleverness, grace, and femininity. The BBC produced this animated opera in 2003.
Listen, sisters, why do you still obey him? You have let him enslave you. This is naked exploitation. Sisters, down with the social structure.
Kitsune spirits played an important role in Baby Metal's last album. They claimed it was divine inspiration. Instead of devil horns, you should display the Kitsune hand gesture at your next Baby Metal concert. That, combined with the wide array of charming foxes in media, Robin Hood, Maid Marian, Nick Wilde, Tails, McCloud, Fantastic Mr., and so on, they provide plenty of inspiration to draw from. Since so many furries choose this animal as their representative persona, it's impossible to accurately label any particular stereotype onto foxes. Are they clever, cunning, sly, self-absorbed, or just slutty? WikiFur seems to think that in our fandom, male foxes are all gay or bi and very submissive, while female fox personas are actually men who play the character as dumb and over-sexualized. The ties between foxes and the seductive femininity run deep in culture. Kitsune shapeshift into bewitching seductresses, for example. As such, foxes are a go-to species for male writers, artists, and role-players looking to quickly signal sultry intent to their audiences. Society has programmed us to pine for vulpines. It's not just furries. The CBC posted this article not too long ago with some pretty bold claims. I can't say I know very many foxes who meet those criteria, but I can say that most fox furs I've met have a tendency to be grumpy, or at least susceptible to being hangry. There are so many foxes in the fandom that their numbers and diversity outweigh any stereotypes that end up evolving out of our weird culture. They are the third most popular choice in persona, behind hybrids and behind wolves, which we have already covered in Culturally Effed. Please let us know in the comments your favorite anthropomorphic fox. Are you on Team Robin Hood or are you on Team Nick Wilde? I am personally on Team Fantastic Mr. Fox. Also, let us know if any fox stereotypes hold true to any foxes you might know. I have been your host, Arrkay. Shout out to Tempe for helping us edit this week's episode. Check out his other work in the description below. Thanks for watching.
I hope you guys fancied that episode. I'm all fancied up, but that doesn't mean I have to wear pants because I'm a rabbit. If you like Culturally F, share, like, and most importantly, subscribe. Ding that little bell. Support for Culturally F comes from our Patreon subscribers. Check out www.patreon.com/culturallyf and consider becoming a monthly donor. Check out our website, culturallyf.com. Consider buying one of our t-shirts and signing up for our monthly newsletter. If you excuse me, I've been your host, Rusty Shacklefur, tipping off my hat to all you subscribers out there. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, guys.